Hello, welcome back to Hints is in the House.
This week,
Wow,
brought to you in
really jumping into it.
color video,
Hi.
or unless the video still isn't working,
And then it's not brought
no
to you in video at all.
videos, in which case, what video? What's that? What?
I've never seen a
Who is
video in my
that?
life.
I don't know a video. I've never even seen a video. Speaking of videos, what was your childhood hobby?
So it was making
We have-
videos.
We have the
I'm
Segway
totally kidding.
King right here.
Okay, so this conversation will differ between the two of us because you had siblings, which means you had like built-in friends. I'm an only
You should say
child.
that.
Therefore, I had to make friends with myself.
Okay, I also had to make friends. I don't know that I would consider making friends
I
with
just mean,
myself making friends.
Shout out to all my fellow only children, but your hobbies as a child are different when there's one of you than if you have multiple like people to do things with.
I would argue, I would
Lord.
contest that your hobbies are the same, but at certain points you can include others in your hobbies.
Never had that luxury. So,
Right, but I'm just saying.
one of my earliest hobbies, if you will, was collecting rocks, something I still do. My mom used to tell me that when I was like 3, I would bring home the little like gravel from the asphalt off the playground.
What?
Like I was like
Those
that.
are like the
I was like
lamest
that
rocks
level
you could even think about.
of like this is what, and I just like had them in my pockets. Like I was all about. But then obviously as I got older, I was picking up the shinier rocks and the jewel type ones, and I was really into it for a while. I had a couple of different books that would tell me what different rocks were. Anytime that we went to any amusement park or I would get the little shiny rock bag if they had like a gem mine thing. I was all about it. Like rock collecting is one of them for sure. I still find that is still a thing I do today. Waiting on you to build me a rock shelf. Now all of you are my witness for Ethan to build me a shelf to display my rocks.
Yeah.
It's only been
Cool.
5 years.
Okay, yes, but there's been plenty of other things to take my time. Lumber's very expensive.
Okay, you can't even be using that excuse. You've had 5 years. Other things,
Okay,
other
but
hobbies.
realistically, I've only had the tools to do it for maybe a year and a
2
half.
years now.
Okay, 2 years, I'll give you that.
This is not the point. Other hobbies of mine include drip candles. Y'all know what a drip candle is? Do you know what a drip candle is? So a long time ago,
No.
candles used to drip. Surprise. But they have since manufactured, like the wax used to drip off of the candle. Since then, they've manufactured specifically candles that don't drip. Most candles now, like pillar candles, like straight up and down taper candles, those kinds, they don't drip intentionally because you don't want wax all over creation. And so they just
Well, that's
tunnel
why you
down the
have
center and
a
they don't drip.
candelabra.
Oh my gosh.
That way,
That
the
doesn't
wax is-
actually catch it. I mean, it just like sits on it.
Yeah, but it looks cool.
It does look cool. Well, that
Look at Lumiere. How lame would he
That's
be
true.
if he was
It
just
just didn't- if he
a
didn't drip.
candlestick with nothing?
Well, that brings me to my point of there are specific now candles manufactured to still
You know, I
drip.
forgot that Ewan McGregor played the live action version of Lumiere.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Wow. Sidetrack. Anyway, they make candles now that are meant to drip, and they come in a bunch of different colors. I got into this hobby when I lived in upstate
So they
New
make
York,
candles
like they used
like
to.
they originally were made.
Correct. But they're a little bit slanted, so they are intentional, like the top of them is cut off at an angle so that they do drip, and they come in a bunch of different colors.
Does it drip? Is it dripping specifically like down one side, or does it drip on
Drips
all sides?
all sides.
Okay.
Or, well, it kind of depends. I was really into it in the sense of like I would move it around and I would like pin prick like a safety pin or whatever so I could direct the wax. It was a whole thing. Anyway, not the point. I got into this hobby when I lived in upstate New York. There is a place that you can visit. It's a drip candle store. They have the world's like longest burning drip candle. It's very, 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 very large. But essentially the point with a drip candle is you take an old wine bottle or an old soda bottle and you like put the drip candle in the top. It's a tapered candle and it's fit to that size just about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you light it and it drips down the size of the candle. And there's still like the drip candle website. I'm like really thinking about it. We have our dogs, that would never work. But it makes a very cool, you can do it color centric. So I could do like, you know, a colored themed one based on the different colors that they offer. And they often have them in neon. I think the place is located in Woodstock, New York. So that probably gives you some context to the type of people that would be doing this activity.
Woodstock, was that in New York?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think that the original festival was in New York, but there is a city in New York called Woodstock.
Okay. That's what I was asking.
Yes, sorry. So drip candles is another one that was, you know, it was a hobby of mine for honestly no good reason. I don't know if I had, so the year that I was 10, I was allowed to have a sleepover for the first time. And I was like with multiple people. I feel like I'd had one-on-ones, but I was allowed to have 10 friends over. Man, we should do a whole episode about birthday parties because your girl has got some good ones. Not the point.
Your boy has got
no.
one.
So maybe we won't do that episode.
It was a SpongeBob themed birthday.
Hey, look at that. What year was it?
I don't know. I was like 10.
Great. So 10. Just this one minor episode about
But I don't think anyone slept over.
10. So I had 10 friends sleep over. In the morning, we did what's called perler beads. I don't know if that rings a bell for anybody.
Nope.
Back in my day, we called them fuse beads. And essentially, it's this craft. You take these little tiny beads, you put them on this little, like, oh man, I'm blinking. It's like a template, and it's got little spikes. And so you, like, line up all the beads on the spikes, and then you put wax paper? Parchment paper, not wax paper. Parchment paper over the top, and you iron them, and then they fuse, the beads fuse together, the plastic fuses together. So we did this for the first time the morning after my 10th birthday party, and I quickly became an addict. I had so many of the little templates and all the different shapes. I had the little books that would tell you how to make the different like animals and things that you could make out of them. I was very invested in fuse beads for quite some time. That was another one of my... So these are the things that only children do. Very time-consuming activities that don't require and a little bit of parental supervision, depends on how old you are. But keeps me quiet and away from, colorful, easy, tedious. Those were my hobbies. And I don't think that... I think adulthood hobbies right now, what I have time for, what I make time for, is rummaging. Would probably be considered a hobby. For those of you not in the Midwest, rummaging just means going to garage sales.
So
not rummaging through like garbage or something.
In Florida, we only ever called it a garage sale. Right. It was never called a rummage. I never heard that term until I got here to Sioux Falls. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was at work and I was talking to Dean, and I was talking about going to garage sales, and I said garage sailing, and he was like, "It sounds like you're on like a boat, or like you took a boat and you're like sailing a garage or something." Truly, I was like, "Yeah, garage sailing. I can see that."
Now, typically in every other part of the country, it's called garage sailing or yard sailing or going to whatever, but here it's called rummaging, and that's probably one of my hobbies at this point. Like a thing that I diligently do and make time for. All about the hunt.
It reminds us of the hunt.
If you ever want to go rummaging with me, holla at your girl. I have a whole system. You'll love to see it. Yeah. So there's that. What are your childhood hobbies and adulthood hobbies? And I will quantify an adulthood hobby as something that you actively have to do. You can't just be like, well, I like... Because you like a lot of things that you don't do.
I do. Well, I dabble.
Okay.
I'm a master of none.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
But a dabbler in many.
Childhood hobbies. Start there.
Childhood hobbies. I mean...
What did you do for fun growing up?
Right. That I guess for me, like a hobby is... I don't know. I guess a hobby as a kid is just things you like to do as a kid. Yeah. You know? And like that revolved around playing games and whatnot. I mean, growing up, like Legos is the first thing that comes to my mind. Like I was a really, really big Lego guy.
Sorry, don't you mean Lego bricks?
No, I mean Legos because I'm not dumb.
I'm really sorry to anyone that's super into building with Legos and it like has to have them referred to as Lego bricks. I apologize for you.
This is what I'll say. At this point, I still have all my Legos in Florida. Like, they're in a big box. You know, probably save them, give them to my kids, that kind of stuff. I'm at the point where if you brought me, like, a Millennium Falcon Lego and were like, hey, Ethan, you want to build this? I'd be like, yeah, sure. But then it's like, once I built it, it would be like, well, I'm not going to, like, play with this, you know? Like, it would just be like, I'm going to build this, it'll be fun, and then I'll probably just take it apart.
The building of it, that's the hobby.
Yeah, like the puzzle.
Yeah.
So growing up, that was my hobby. Me, Alex, and Silas were all really into Legos growing up. Like, it definitely started with me, obviously, being the oldest of the boys. But they latched onto it, and I think Silas probably latched onto it. Well, no, we were all pretty into it. But, like, Silas held on, obviously, longer because by the time I was, like, getting into, like, high school and that kind of stuff, like, I just wasn't invested in Legos anymore.
Considering Alex is the engineer now.
Yeah, but like I said, we were all equally super invested in Legos at a time. Like, I mean, we each had a giant tub of Legos.
Sure.
Like, so it's not like it was not an exclusive thing. So that is what comes to mind for me as being the most profound hobby as a kid. We didn't really do any sports. I would have always liked to do sports, but I just never did. Like, and I feel like it was probably because I really wanted to play football because I really liked football, but
your mom wasn't having it.
Right, yeah, like, because I would have wanted to play, like, contact football.
Right.
And for those of you who have never seen me in real life, or maybe have forgotten what I look like in real life, or for those of you who are just now looking at me for the first time in life, hello, this is what I look like.
Also, you would have snapped like a twig.
I'm very skinny. I've always been very, very skinny, very thin. So, yeah, it was probably a good thing that I didn't play full contact football, especially when, like, you look at some of the people that are playing full contact football, especially in, like, high school and college. Like, some of the guys in college are like
beefy boys.
Right, it's like you were like a 30-year-old 300-pound man and you were playing with like 18-year-olds. Like,
it gets wild.
Anyways, so I didn't really get to do a lot of sports. I really liked, like, riding my bike, obviously. I spent a lot of time also outside.
We didn't have disgusting Florida heat.
Right, but I grew up in it. We had a pool, so I was constantly in the pool growing up if, you know, it wasn't storming.
Which was at 4 p.m. every day. And then
gone. Yeah, I mean, as long as it wasn't thunder and lightning, you could still go in the pool when it was raining. That was fine. True. But I spent a lot of time outside on my bike, just running around, just being outside if I wasn't playing with my Legos, obviously.
Right. Legos inside, everything else outside.
As I got older, I started, like, getting into, like, beach activities, like, specifically snorkeling and, like, spearfishing. Like, I got really into that for a time.
How luxurious to live in a place where snorkeling can be a hobby.
Right. Because me and Travis got really into that for a while.
Sure.
And then Travis left for California. I think I said this on a podcast recently. Travis left for California.
Yes, you did.
And I didn't have any other friends to go snorkeling with.
All of your friends wanted to swing dance.
Yeah. Dude, if you're listening right now and you're one of those friends...
I didn't mean to bring up such a traumatic experience for you.
Screw swing dancing.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
I hated swing dancing with a passion. I still hate it because of... Like, it just, like, grabbed my friend group and was like, hey, we're swing dancing now. And I was like, hey, you want to hang out? Like, we're going swing dancing tonight. It was like, weren't you there the last 4 nights? Yeah, it's so fun.
You want to do literally anything else?
Yeah.
Rip.
So, I don't know. Maybe had, like, everyone not so hard gotten into it, I maybe could have given swing dancing a try. But
for the record, when I was like 16 and 17, swing dancing was a popular thing that happened in the summer in North Carolina. And so when Ethan and I met, I was not like super into swing dancing still, but it was something that I still enjoyed. It's very fun. And so for him to have such like a visceral reaction to the idea of swing dancing, I was like, okay.
Because you have to understand.
I'm so sorry.
At the time, it was literally like my entire core friend group
just disappeared.
it wasn't that they disappeared. They all just went to swing dancing, and I never went and never wanted to be involved, and it just was not my thing.
And
And it was
then
never going to be my thing.
no one
and I
went-
wasn't going to pretend that it was going to be my thing.
And then no one went snorkeling
The only
with
person,
you.
right, the only person that I can really think of who also actively didn't go swing dancing was Alex Zerschmied.
Oh, I was gonna say Scotty.
Well, yeah, Scotty. Yeah, he was not really, he was my core friend, but he was
Not in that group.
Right, there was like the core friend bubble, and then it was like Scotty was there, and I was like, it was like my Venn diagram.
Oh man. Would you say it was like your friend diagram?
Sure, yeah. I guess I have no reason to.
Okay, sorry. I was just here
maybe
for
we
the
can
pun.
make that the title of the podcast.
I hope so. Guys, I'm just trying really hard to make one of the things that I say the title of the podcast. Okay.
Anyways, so also similar around that time, I was in the sound booth at church. I got into that when I was in middle school. So I really got into like the AV side of the production that goes into running a service. Middle school production anyways, at a mega church. It was Calvary, it was mega church, but it was a middle school production. But we had a ton of kids that went to middle school at that time because that was before Bob, did his Bob thing and dropped a nuke and left.
I will not. Dropped a nuke and left. Truly, that is what happened.
Yeah.
Sorry, anyone at Calvary circa 2014, carry on.
Yeah. So I really got into like doing sound and that kind of stuff. And so I guess that kind of became a hobby because I really like invested a lot of time and thought into it. It wasn't just like, I'm going to show up like once a week. It was like, oh, I'm going to like look up stuff like how to do this, how to do that. I'm going to
sure.
like actively try and learn.
You took the extra
like
time.
technique. Right. It wasn't just like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to learn how to get through a service and then move on. Like I was definitely invested. I also started like learning to play bass at that time, and I mainly was learning bass because Zerschmied said that he would teach me for free, and
Then
no
he
one
lied
else.
to you. Oh no, he did teach you?
Yeah,
Okay.
he taught me for free.
That's nice.
No, yeah, no one else was willing to give me no one in the church was willing to give me any other sort of
Free
lessons for free
yeah.
though. Right, like everyone
Here's
was
the thing, like I get it
I'll
if
pay
you're
you.
like, outside, like if you're an instrumentalist and you're teaching from an outside thing, cool. But like within your friend group, like can you just like maybe be slightly generous and teach an instrument? Like it's not
It's also
I know it's
like-
a time investment from you,
Right, but it's like
but
you're
like just help a brother out.
Right, you're like a high school kid, like,
Sure.
and you're gonna be you're charging me like $60 for an hour lesson, like, that is insanity. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, people had, but whatever.
Everybody has a side hustle.
So I also really got into bass, but then being in the sound booth, we had monthly Bible studies, and there was always a spiritual challenge associated with
Sure.
each month, whether it was memorizing a verse or taking some portion of scripture and like applying it to your life, or whatever the case may be, examining your life, seeing some area that needs to change, like whatever. It was memorization of verses was a pretty popular one. But we did have this one time where we had to build a wooden cross. I don't remember the exact context of the challenge itself, but we had to build a wooden cross just
Sure.
for whatever. And so Dad helped me because I was, in middle school, hadn't really ever done a lot with power tools and building or anything. But
We love an adult supervision.
that experience really turned me on to woodworking, like, because I remember building the cross and like having it all come together, and it was like a really fun experience for me. So that kind of turned me on to woodworking, and just in general, like Dad was a very like do-it-yourself kind of guy
Sure.
growing up. So I just learned a lot of like around the house oddities, how to fix stuff, how to that kind of stuff, like building. Like I learned a lot.
It's a very useful thing for a man to have. Can confirm.
Yeah. So just in general, like woodworking and that kind of stuff became a pretty good venue to, do stuff, express some creativity. I did get into writing for a little bit. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I kind of forget about all of those like creativity things as being hobbies, which they totally are, but just like it just like falls out of my brain because I think it's so ingrained in me that I'm like, everybody does this, which is not true.
Well, yeah, and it was, I think it was probably because I was hanging out with Alex Volman at the time, and he was like really into film and writing and that kind of stuff. And so, you know, having him be around like that kind of like
Influence.
Right, like, influenced me into writing my own stuff. And then I had at the time my 2011 or 2013, whatever it was, MacBook Pro. And somehow, for some reason, it got completely reset and I lost everything that I had written. Because I had a bunch of stuff. I had like scripts and short stories and that kind of stuff written. And I couldn't back up, like my hard drive wasn't backed up, like nothing. And the hard drive had to be wiped. So I lost everything. So that kind of like...
reset you and...
Right, like I just kind of like cold turkey stopped writing after that because it was just like... It was like such a loss. It was like, oh, like... years of writing, and it probably wasn't honestly very good stuff because it was like
it
was like high school. Well, I'm just saying it was just like high school, my first short stories types of writing, but like the creative inspiration kind of got like a wet blanket thrown on it, so I stopped writing for a while. Just kind of picked it up recently in the last like year. I would say I've written a little bit more recently.
Now people are going to ask to see your work.
Right, but we remember when, so I had the idea for a board game and I was writing it down.
Yes.
And I got like a couple pages in and I haven't like
fully
fleshed it out. We were
trying to watch a movie. Okay. I said, Ethan, let's sit down and watch this movie.
We can have dreams and be another conversation for another time. Well,
what I'm trying to say is, we were trying to
next time.
Watch a movie and Ethan is like furiously writing something and not paying attention to the movie. And I'm like, what is going on? And he's like, I had this idea for a board game and I gotta get it down right now. I was like, oh my gosh.
Anyway, but then, so writing a little bit recently, but no, I don't show my work until it's done. And I'm the type of person who I can write something and get to the place where I say, this is done. Like a lot of people struggle with that, where they're like, it's never done, it's never done. I can write a story or whatever, get to a point where I'm like, this is as good as I can or am willing to make the story, and this is done. I just want everyone to know
that it's been 5 years and I've not read a single thing that you've written.
Because it's only been like in the last year that I started writing, and I haven't really like fleshed out any of my stories. It's just been in that like conceptual stage right now, like where I have an idea, I write it down, I maybe write like a page or two of a story or try and flesh out a couple of characters. But I haven't invested enough time to complete anything, and the stuff that I have written down right now would be more for like large scale. I haven't really tried anything
small scale.
Right, like a short story or something. So a little bit writing, but my obvious biggest hobby right now would be board gaming.
Yeah, 100%.
I just today, in fact, started Gloomhaven. So I got a couple of scenarios.
Can I tell people how much it costs? Because it's ridiculous.
It was on sale.
It doesn't matter that it was on sale. What is the retail price?
The retail price? I don't know, like $120, $130.
Right. This game.
It was on sale. It was on sale for $80. That is almost a 50% reduction.
That is not the point. The point is, these are the kind of games that you bring into my life.
But think about it. This game has like 96 scenarios, I want to say. Campaign story.
What I'm hearing is that it will never end.
But what you should be hearing is probably
maximum like bang for buck.
Right, yeah.
That makes sense.
Like, I mean, eventually you'll get to the end. You can play random scenarios once you get to the end if you want, but like the story is a very long story.
Yeah. Gathered that.
Yeah. But
lot of games. He's turning around now looking at all of our board games.
I really like also
it's an excessive collection. That will be a whole episode.
Yeah, we've already teased the board game episode. It's not yet. It hasn't come out yet, and it's not quite yet.
For those of you listening exclusively for that content, we know who you are, and you know who you are.
Do you think anyone's exclusively listening just for the board gaming podcast? They like check in every week. They're like, board game? Nope.
Nope, not the one.
Dislike that.
Nobody liked that.
But I also like the like long form games, like Gloomhaven, pretty long game. It's like 30 minutes per player, so that would be, if you played a 4-player game, it would be a 2-hour game for one scenario.
Lord have mercy.
Or War of the Ring, that's a couple hours for sure. I just got Twilight Imperium that says it's 4 to 8 hours for a game, but the online it said that if you are playing and like multiple people aren't really familiar with the game or the mechanics, it can take 12 hours. So it's like that can be like a literal full day or like multiple sessions.
Who you playing these games with? Because it ain't me, sis.
Right, sis. I got
I'm just telling you that right now. It's not gonna happen.
Caleb for sure. Caleb has expressed interest.
He might be waiting for the board game episode.
Right. Yeah, maybe. Brock is probably down for some of the games.
Yeah, if he gets the whole day off.
Yeah, I mean...
Y'all just coordinate.
War for the Ring can be played in an evening. Me and Silas have played War for the Ring in an evening. Me and Silas played War for the Ring twice in one day before.
Like, here's what I need to happen. I need Silas to get a job in South Dakota, move here, and then, like, stay in our guest room.
Yeah. Or he can live in the basement under the stairs like a little gremlin.
We will not be doing that to you, Silas. If you choose to move here, we will not Harry Potter you. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I didn't say like Harry Potter. I said like a gremlin. Completely different.
Arguably worse.
Right, exactly.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Right, Harry Potter comes out and he's like, oh, hello, so I'm a wizard. And like Silas would come out and be like, hey, where's my food? I need a board game. Like, you know.
I just want you to know, Silas, that's not how I think of you at all.
That's not how I think of him right now. But if he lived under our stairs like a gremlin.
Okay. I would not do that to you.
So board gaming, I've also recently been getting into not Ultimate Frisbee. I was really into Ultimate Frisbee.
What a time. I remember the days. We were all into Ultimate Frisbee at one point.
I would just like to say me and Travis started that, but whatever. Anyone
okay.
can have their own opinion.
Yeah, in the Florida epic, but you had nothing to do in North Carolina.
Yeah, well, me and Travis started that at Calvary. We were
the OG.
Yeah. There were a couple other people, I guess, too, but I mean, it was me and Travis.
Just
you can argue
to
if
give
you want,
credit where credit is due.
Frisbee golf. I've really gotten into Frisbee golf.
There's such a limited window for that in South Dakota.
There's a limited window for everything outside in South Dakota, unless like snow shoveling.
It's true.
Is your hobby?
Like I would say snowboarding. Like if you have snow activities, ice skating, snowboarding,
if you
anything
have
to do
indoor
with
activities, you're fine.
Yeah, right.
Anything
but you have outdoor.
Yeah.
You're limited to about.
But even like stuff like snowboarding and that kind of stuff, like
it depends.
It has to be cold enough for the snow to stay.
Yeah.
It either has to snow or if they're going to make artificial snow.
The snow can't be super packed because that is
right. Yeah, you can't get
terrible.
ice. Like it has to be snow. So
it's a very tricky window of your best bet in South Dakota is to have indoor hobbies.
Yeah.
And if you do have outdoor hobbies, you've got about 3 months where they're good.
But I've been watching videos recently on disc golfing and like how to be more accurate, and just because like I'm used to like throwing a frisbee, like ultimate frisbee, very different than disc golfing. Disc golfs are smaller, harder. They have a like thinner ridge, so they can like cut through the air. They have different numbers for like speed and for what was the other one? It's like speed and glide and tilt and just fade, something like that. So there's like I'm researching that like because it's different for if you like throw forward, if you throw backhand or like forward hand, and if you're a righty or a lefty, there's different numbers because the frisbee will self-correct a little bit at the end of flight.
All kinds of very involved.
So though my main hobbies right now I would classify it as board games number 1
and disc golf.
Disc golf.
And I can attest to that. Those are 2 things that you actively do. Good job. I'm proud of you. I wouldn't classify like woodworking or gardening as hobbies for you right now. No, those are things you like to do.
I like to do.
But you just don't do them.
Yeah.
Like I love baking. I haven't baked in quite some time.
Can't confirm.
Rip my life.
No cookies.
What a time. This has been a long episode, I can tell you that.
We're at almost 30 minutes right now.
Oof. Sorry in advance to anyone that doesn't want to listen that long. I hope you stay until the end. Okay.
If you didn't want to listen that long and you've listened that long, gotcha.
Oh, gosh. Oh, well, thanks
and if you did want to listen that long, you're welcome. And if you want even more of us, just play the episode again.
Right. Or tune in next week for the next one.
Or just play it again.
Great.
Or like play it in reverse or play it at like half speed. Or can you
have all of these ideas?
Yeah. I'm full of ideas. I'm full of them.
Maybe you should write them down.
Oh, they're dumb.
Oh, Lord have mercy. All right, well, thanks for this. It's been great. This has been great.
Thank you for watching us.
Liking, commenting, and subscribing, as the YouTubers say.
Yes, smash that like button. You know, take a jackhammer to it.
100%.
Just take it, then maybe take it out back with a baseball bat and just like
sledgehammer, but sure, jackhammer is fine.
Yeah, run it over with your car maybe.
Okay, well that's like a little much.
Yeah, then take it and like tie it up and ditch it in.
I just want to say right now, we are not liable if you do any of these things to your own device.
You're supposed to do it to the like button.
Right, on your device.
You don't hurt the computer. You just kill the like button.
I don't think that. Okay, great. This has been lovely. Adios. Hasta luego. Arrivederci.
Get some hobbies and do something that you enjoy.
Exactly. Reflect on your own childhood hobbies. Whatever brought you joy as a child. And do that now.
Yeah. If it's building Legos, no shame. Unless...
If it's perler beads...
Maybe a little
Hobby
shame.
Lobby. Okay, first of all... Hobby Lobby, discounts. If it's rummaging, hit me up. You know? Whatever it is, life is too short to not do things that make you happy.
Yeah.
And that's on that. Bye.
See ya.